Yeah. So the topic for today is a book review, Life's Amazing Secrets by Gaur Gopal Das. This is the first book is in our series. I have made some notes, so I will occasionally be referring to them. So the story starts with a lot of gratitude because the author believes in the power of gratitude. So he thanks a lot of people profusely who motivated him to write the book. He talks about how he got the opportunity to write the book, how he thought twice whether he is a good enough author because he doesn't have an author kind of a background. But he kind of quotes a famous quote from Richard Branson, which says that even if you get an opportunity and are not sure, you should just grab the opportunity and then learn how to do it. So that's how the story actually starts. He talks about the Indian monsoons. When there are Indian monsoons, you cannot help but get wet. So similarly, when there are a lot of clouds around us of doubt, anxiety, sufferings, etc., we tend to get affected and get into that kind of a weather ourselves in our moods also. So that is something which we need to guard against. Uh, so basically, the author talks about something which I really liked about. It is the power of spirituality. There are four pillars to it. That is the sadhana that you do, the sadachar or your character, your seva, that is the way you help others, and your sangha, which is your association. So these four are the pillars of spirituality. So the story starts with author going to his friend's house for lunch and meeting his friend and his wife over there. He becomes enamored with how wealthy they are. It's like on the 28th floor in Worli. So they are actually very good with the cooking. So the author actually thanks them. There is a pun intended because the author says that there is a sambar, a dish that he likes, and he makes it public. And what happens afterwards is a lot of people just keep on feeding him sambar from everywhere in India, Australia to the UK, and then author knows where to get the best sambar. So that's how he starts it with. Finally, he actually moves on through the story. The real story starts after the author has his lunch at his friend's house, and then his friends tells him that he will drop him back to his Chaupati temple. Now, once the author and his friend get into the car, that's where the author gives him an entire life's lesson. So it actually helps that there is a lot of speed breaker. There is a lot of traffic because of which the author is actually getting the chance to speak, and he's kind of does a nice metaphor. He compares the traffic, the speed breakers with the traffic in our heads, the flow of thoughts that is getting stopped because of these challenges. So that's a nice metaphor the author comes up with. He tells that no matter how smiling the people are, everyone has their own problems, and when a person is angry, we need to actually look at what would be the symptoms behind his anger. So those kind of people need more attention. He says that you can feel stuck even if you are driving a Lexus. So no matter what your surroundings are, you can always feel at a point in life where you need to be positive. So that attitude is required. So whenever you are trying to comfort somebody who is in a low energy state, you need to get into a high energy state, but you need to be comforting and very non-judgmental. So that's what you need to guard against. He says that sometimes even if you are silent, that is better than some hollow comforting words. He says people don't care if you know a lot until they know that you care. So that's again profound. So what should I do? If you ask any life coach, then at that point that is the biggest question mark for that life coach, because all life coaches would like you to take the decision. So asking them what you should do is always going to be a question to answer. The next thing is he talks beautifully about four pillars: the personal pillar, the work pillar, the relationship pillar, and the society pillar of giving back. And then there is a steering wheel of spirituality, and the air in all these four tires is your attitude. Now if all these four tires are balanced, then only your car can speed to its right destination. Then he talks about perceptions. Like there is a nice story wherein a woman thinks that her neighbor is always not good in washing her clothes. Her clothes tend to be dark in color, but the real thing is her windows have actually dust on them. So perception is like a goggles. We look at other people through our lens of perception, and that determines it. So we need to change ourselves, and then only the world around us, the way we see it, that will change. So afterwards, he talks about his guru Radhanand Swami and that incident, wherein the author says that there is a lot of frustration within him, and he actually rants all of that frustration in front of Radhanand Swamiji. But Swamiji listens to him patiently for 30 minutes, doesn't speak a word. After that, he says, "Are you done?" And then he starts listing out what all there is positive as well around, which the author has missed. And then the author actually realizes his mistake. So that's a pretty brilliant incident. So the whole idea is to talk about the positives. So if you see 3 negatives, you don't ignore the negatives, but you focus on the positives, and that gives you an energy to look at the negatives. So it also has a nice incident like the cumin seed incident. So if you have a cumin seed stuck in one of your teeth, you will ignore all the good 31 teeth, but keep focusing on that one cumin seed. So that is the whole problem. Our mind actually focuses on the one negative in our life, and that is what we need to try and avoid. How that will be that can be done is by being having an attitude of gratefulness. If we think that we have got something useful, and that useful thing is given by somebody from above, then we will naturally have this attitude of gratefulness around us. So he gives us a nice example of a girl who has cancer. Now, can the parents in this situation be grateful if their 4-year-old girl is suffering from cancer? But yeah, there is an option for that as well. So they can be grateful for the people around them, for the support they are getting from everybody, for the doctors who are treating. So no matter what situation you are in, you can always find reason to be grateful. And it's not that the people who are happy are grateful, but it's the other way around. The people who are grateful are the ones who are happy. So we need to have at all stages in life, we need to pause. No matter how busy we are, if we are busy, we need to be even more grateful. We need to pause, take a break, reflect, and be grateful. So there is a nice experiment that Washington Post ran, wherein Joshua Bell, the famous violinist, played for 45 minutes in Washington, and he had a reputation of filling up stadiums. And he used a violin of which itself was of $35 million. But shockingly, only 5 to 6 people stopped by to listen to him, as everybody was busy going to their office, and nobody actually realized that it was Joshua Bell himself. So context is all that matters. Context or our perspective. If we can change that, then everything around us changes. So, and for gratitude, what do you need to do? You need to recognize and thank people for the good deeds that they have done. We need to remember and contemplate who has helped us, and then we need to reciprocate or give back. So every morning, you can make this as a ritual of paying your gratitude, and rather than asking what is not there, you can always think of what all positives are there. So that will actually make you feel stronger. Then author talks about why worry, and that's again something which I really loved it. It says that if you have a problem, and if you do not have a problem, why worry? If you have a problem and you can do something about it, then why worry? Because you can do something about it. If you have a problem and you cannot do something about it, then why worry? So no matter what, you should not worry in life. So that's brilliantly put. So whatever you think that is not happening good for you now, if something is bad, that can also turn out to be good. You never know how things shape up. He talks about famous examples of founders of Twitter who were not founder of WhatsApp, who was not hired at Twitter and Facebook earlier, and then he ended up creating WhatsApp, which Facebook bought for billions of dollars. So no matter what happens to you, your interview rejections, etc., they can all turn out to be positive. So whenever and then he talks about the spiritual sadhana. He says that human beings are not having they are not humans having spiritual experiences, but spiritual beings who are having human experiences. So spiritual aspects are the central theme of your life. Author talks about practicing mantra meditation, which actually helps us take off to a higher state by connecting to our higher self, and then we can get a better perspective once we are at the higher levels, because we get a very good overall holistic view. He says that we don't need to get flustered and think that I cannot meditate for hours on end, etc. Just start with 5 minutes a day, then gradually keep on increasing. So he talks about a nice dog story where the author saw a dog who did all the shopping, paid the bill at a supermarket, but when he got home, his owner still scolded him. Why? Because the dog forgot the keys while he went for shopping, and the owner had to get up and open the door. So what it means is, even if somebody does a lot of things for us, we are not grateful to that person. So we need to have the right attitude to thank people around us. Then he talks about a nice seminar that he had to give at the Bombay Stock Exchange, which involved a lot of dignitaries from the mutual fund industry, etc. And a line that resonated with everybody was, mutual funds and relationships both need investments before we can withdraw from them. And that is something very interesting, because relationships is something that the author focuses on as his next pillar, because he says that you actually want to correct people even in your relationships, but there is a certain basis to it. Like, you have to decide, like, are you the right person to correct a people in any relationship? Like, are you the parent, or for that matter the right person who has to give the feedback? Second thing is, do you have the right motive for correcting somebody else? So if you are, say, in a hot temper, etc., or you don't have a good motive, then you should not be the one correcting. Then he talks about the Sita and the Lakshman episode, wherein Ram, Lakshman and Sita go to the jungle, and there actually Sita tells Lakshman that you have to get that Ram is calling for help, so go and help Ram. But then, so what actually the story, like the told by the author, it's a little different. So it says that when Ram goes in the jungle, he hears some sound. The Sita and Lakshman hear some sound of Ram asking them to save him. But Lakshman says, no, it cannot be Ram. Ram will not call for help. He has just yesterday kind of killed hundreds of demons. So then Sita says, no, I can hear his voice. I plead with you. Then she uses her position, but still Lakshman doesn't go. Then Sita says that you want the entire kingdom for yourself. That's why you are not going. So she directly attacks his heart by making such hateful statements, and then Lakshman has to go. So what it means is, when we use strong words against somebody, that is creating the biggest impact, and that is something we should all avoid. Then he talks about an incident in Nepal where his senior guru humiliated him, because the author had to go to Ukraine, and his passport was in the Delhi embassy, and to go there he just asked his guru, can I actually use the aeroplane, like airway? But then he said, the other senior guru said, but who will pay for the flight? And then he scolded the author severely in front of everybody, insulted him, etc. Then what the author did is, he came in his room in a solitude rather. So he said that main thing is, when somebody insults you, you should not get angry. You should come back in a solitude, in an environment by yourself. Make the list of plus and minuses, like what has this person done for me in the past. Make a long list of it, and then now compare against what one incident he has done bad. Then if the pluses are huge, you should not take an action. So that's what you should do. So then the height is when that person recovers from his anger, he says sorry profusely to the author, and they bond over. And the best thing is, for all the pilgrims that are a part of that tour with the author and his senior guru, their friendship and bonhomie after their initial scolding that the author got, that is the highlight of the tour, as to how deeply connected they are spiritually, and what a strong bond they have, that after, in spite this angry episode, the next day they were so good with each other as if nothing has happened. So that is a great learning for everyone. Then he talks about one incident in Aditya Birla's company, where one of the senior executives lost millions of dollars. Now everybody thought that senior executive will be fired by Aditya Birla. But again, Aditya Birla makes pluses and minuses. Like, he remembers all the times that senior executive has won money for their company, and that turns out to be bigger than the negative. So he forgives him, and then that spreads the forgiving culture within the Birla empire, and that is something that motivates everybody in the company. Then author talks about an interesting story where a man sees some messages in his wife's mobile phone, and they are not good, like they are from some other man, and then he realizes that his wife is cheating with him, or virtually only on the phone. So then he is in a perplexed situation, like should he forgive the wife? The wife confesses that she was cheating on the phone, but says that she has not met the man. So then he asks our author, like, should I forgive him, or should I forgive her, or should I give her another chance? So then the author says that it is up to you, like, do you choose justice, or do you choose love? So that is forgiveness. So then, because if you choose justice, you may not forgive her, but if you have to choose forgiveness, you have to think about your children, etc., then forgiveness is the right thing. Then in the same breath, he says that forgiveness is not a virtue that has to be practiced on all occasions. Like in the famous Nirbhaya gang rape case in New Delhi, he says that such sexual violence incidents can never be forgiven. It also talks about Kurukshetra, where a spiritual person like Arjuna was not allowed to forgive Kauravas by Krishna. So forgiveness is not a virtue that has to be always used, and you have to blend it, like as per the situation you have to decide whether one has to forgive or whether one has to take justice as the important measure. Then the author talks about Sangha, like what is Sangha or association and why is it important. So that's something I really liked about. It says that in Sanskrit there is an interesting saying that Sangha decides your success. It can either uproot you or it can elevate you in this life and beyond. So why is it said like that? Because initially when you connect with a person, how does Sangha work? First it works at the accepting gifts and the giving gifts. Like relationship always is about give and take at the initial levels. So first you accept gifts and then you give gifts or whatever. So that is at the material level. Second thing, it moves on to the food. Once a person gives and accepts gifts, later on they start sharing meals. And then finally they open up their hearts to each other. So they share the thoughts. So he talks about, and this is always the order. First it starts at material level. For example, you may give your friend a bike. Your friend may give you his computer. Then it could be like you may share meals with each other. And then finally you begin to copy his other features, like if he is into liquor or cigarette, then you may tend to get into it, or vice versa. So that's how the natural progression is. So we need to watch out for. So author says you have to watch out for whose company you keep, because that will determine to a large extent how you yourself behave. Then there is a nice thing, like author says that you have to watch your thoughts, because your thought becomes your words. You have to watch your words because your words become your actions. You have to watch your actions because actions become your habits. You have to watch your habits because your habits become your character. You have to watch your character because your character becomes your destiny. So that is interesting. And then he moves on to workplace politics. So the best thing I liked here is, he says competition is always there. You cannot escape from it, but you have to change whom you compete with. You have to compete with yourself and not with others, and that is the only way to success. So that will only improve your chances for success. So basically there is a nice incident, like there is a dancer who asks his guru, like I am trying to dance all this while, but I am not dancing as well as the other people around in the room. So when will I be as good? So when will I improve? So then the guru says you will only improve when you stop comparing yourself with others. So that is the main thing. You don't have to compare yourself with others, but you have to compare yourself with only your past. So like the author says, when he was asked like who is his ideal person, or who is his hero, the author said my hero is me 10 years from now. And that always was the case. Like he never idealized anybody else, and that idol never gets achieved because you are always 10 years behind. As you reach 20, your idol is at 30. When you become 30, your idol is at 40. So that way you try and improve yourself gradually over the years. So then let me see what else is remaining. Okay, then there is another thing. If you want to actually compare anything from anybody else, then it should be your attitude. Say if somebody is a hardworking, then the author says try and see how good hardworking they are, and can I be as hardworking as that person. So that is something you can ape from others. From finding your purpose, you have to decide what you want to do in life. So there are some very interesting things. You have to do something which you love doing, which you are good at doing. Then third thing is which others actually want from you, and then the last thing is what people are willing to pay for. So all these four things, if they intersect, that is something which ideally you should do. Now it may not always be possible because we all may be in occupations which we do not actually love, but we need to focus on which part of this work do we love doing, and that is something we can focus on in our entire job profile. Plus we have to, so that's in that way we can love what we are already doing, love what you're doing, and also do what you love to do. So it works actually both ways. And spirituality in this case helps to declutter our mind, and it helps us to find our purpose. So there are some misconceptions associated with spirituality. Like, does spirituality temper our ambitions? The author thinks no, of course not. Earlier the case is your ambitions are restricted to your own well-being, but once you become spiritual, your ambitions tend to increase for everyone else's well-being also, and then you tend to work much harder than you would for your own good. So spiritual beings are never satisfied in that sense. They are always working hard. Then there is a nice anecdote. Author says that India was known for many people abroad, like they think that India gets its income from Taj Mahal, Goa, and snake charmers. That is the land of India is the land of snake charmers. So he tells us a snake story. So he talks about how that one of the snakes actually used to harass a lot of villagers earlier, bite them and all that. And then one of the spiritual persons tells the snake that he should not bite other people. And then the snake gets bitten by everyone else. Like all the small boys also start throwing stones at the snake. And then the snake actually asks the spiritual person back, like, see, I was good, but then people didn't treat me kindly. So then the spiritual person says, you half understood my message. I told you to be good, but you need not bite other people, but you don't need to stop scaring them if somebody is bad with you. So as per the author, spiritual people should not be pushovers or like seen as weaklings. He talks about like Arjun being spiritual but still he being a success. Then he talks about your strength and character. So then he talks about a story of Jagannath Yatra, where in Mumbai there was a Jagannath Yatra in an upmarket area, and there was a lot of donations that were collected. Especially one person actually gave a lot of money, and unfortunately his Mercedes was hit by the Jagannath chariot on that day. And then nobody came down, but the people who were carrying that chariot wrote a note to that person that our Jagannath chariot hit your car, but we are ready to compensate you for the dent that it has caused your Mercedes. So then the person who had given the money realized that these people are like owning up their mistakes. So he actually gave them a lot more donation next time rather than this time. So that is the true message of spirituality. You have to be honest and have integrity in your dealings. So then the author talks about last pillar, which is contribution to society. So he talks about being two ends of different things. Like he compares the ice cream with the candle. Like ice cream principle is you have to eat it before it melts, and the candle principle is you have to burn and give everybody light. So as per the author, we should be somewhere in between, because we cannot be the candle, because if we melt away, then we may suffer from what is known as compassion overdose or compassion fatigue. And if he actually, must be remembering the line that plays in all these aircrafts before takeoff. They say that you have to fasten your own mask before you help your neighbor or children. Now some people may perceive it as being selfish, but it actually is quite true that unless you get oxygen, you cannot help others. Similarly, unless you get your wealth, you cannot help the poor. Unless you have love in your life, or you know how being loved feels, you cannot love others. So always it starts with, so it's all about selflessness. So that's a term that the author has coined. Then the author talks about love for God, which is like it has to be encompassing three things, like your actions, your intentions, and it has to come from your heart. So then that is, you have to do seva with the right intention, and not just because somebody is watching or publicize things in that way. Then the author talks about one incident wherein he could not have been grateful for. So he talks about that saying where he said that he told all engineers, like, you engineers can have maybe income of say 50 lakhs after 15 years working, but politicians can maybe have 500 crores, 50 crores, but your spiritual leaders may have thousands of crores. So that then you should choose your profession wisely. So that is one incident he says that he was not thankful for. So friends, hope you liked some of the stories at least, and in case if you did not understand some of it or maybe all of it, that's even more reason for you to go and buy the book, read it and enjoy. Till next time, bye bye.